Hey, so guys, Rockshall here. In this video, I'm going to show you everything that is in the Create Game tab to help you create your own best single player or non-dedicated server. Before we begin, I want to say that I'm going to show you my personal settings here, but the great thing about ARK is that I believe settings are best adjusted based on what you want your experience to be. You can use my settings if you'd like, but this video is more for teaching you what those settings are, rather than recommending mine directly. Timestamps are on the timeline if you just want a specific section. On the first tab called ARKS is where your save files for each map are located. You'll notice on the bottom right there is an option to create a single player or non-dedicated server. Single player in ARK allows you to pause the game fully whenever you're playing, but you cannot have friends join you. Non-dedicated allows you to make a server for friends to join, but there will be a range limit to how far people can go away from you, and your friends will also be teleported into any caves or boss fights you enter. You can make the server invite only by checking this box, otherwise if it is unchecked it will show up on the non-dedicated server page for anyone to join. You can also change the name, as well as having an admin password on the server to only have certain people access admin powers. Back to the main ARKS page. There's a tab for the official story maps and another for modded maps you add yourself. There is a little icon next to each map that if you click will delete your save, and an option on the bottom to completely get rid of all your saves. Now if you just use the base game save feature, you may realize you can't have multiple saves for the same map. However, for people on PC, your boy has a way around this if you want multiple saves. If you're on console, I unfortunately don't believe that there is any way currently, so you can just skip to the timestamp here to relevant stuff. On Steam, all you have to do is right click ARK Survival Ascended in the Steam library, hover over Manage, and then click on Browse Local Files. This will now bring up the game's files on your computer. Now you go to Shooter Game, Saved, and then Saved ARKS Local. This tab right here is all of your local saves for each map. If you want to keep a save for later, all you have to do is go to the map of your choice, and then copy and paste everything in that folder somewhere else for safekeeping. Then whenever you want to go back to that specific save again, you just get rid of everything that is currently in there, and paste back everything you just copied. You can do this for as many saves as you want, as long as you keep the files. And it is very epic if you want to go back to an old world, or just a specific point in time. Now we have the Mods Settings tab, where you can apply all your downloaded mods to your world. These mods can all be downloaded in the Mods List tab on the main menu. The first tab shows all mods currently active on your world, and the Available Mods tab shows all the mods you currently downloaded so you can activate them. To activate, simply click on the mod you want active in Available Mods, and click the Activate Mod button on the bottom. You'll know it is active when you see the ARK logo on the side, as well as it being located in the Active Mods tab. You can deactivate by pressing the button in the same spot again. On the bottom there is also a Get Mods and Mod Info button, which seem to both just lead you straight back to the mods list page. There's also an update button that doesn't seem to work at all for my testing, so what I recommend is going to Mods List and then the Installed Mods tab to check each individual mod to see which needs updates. Non-dedicated servers seem to break often with outdated mods, so if you run non-dedicated, I recommend checking this often. Next is the Game Rules tab, where the basic aspects of your world can be customized. Before we get to the actual settings, you probably realize we got some new things on the bottom here. The first is the Restore Defaults option, which will restore things back to what they were when you first launched the game. There's also a Choose Difficulty option, which has some pre-selected presets of settings the devs implemented. These are decent on their own, but I definitely recommend at least looking through the tabs before hopping in to personalize your experience more here. Then finally is a Save Settings button, which I recommend just clicking whenever you're done customizing stuff. Beginning in the Player sub-tab, you can change how much damage your character does, the amount of resistance you have, how fast your water, food, and stamina drain, how fast you recover health, and finally how much you receive when harvesting things. The Creature tab has similar things, but you can also change the amount of spawning that happens with max count, turret damage to creatures, and the ability to disable taming and riding if wanted. On the Structure tab, there are only 4 settings to change. First 2 are the amount of damage structures like spikes will do to creatures, and the amount of resistance structures have. The damage repair cooldown is just what the cooldown will be after you repair a damaged structure to repair it again. Making it 0 will remove this cooldown. Disable Structure Placement Collision allows you to place structures that clip into the terrain. The World tab allows you to control the big main aspects of your server. First is the XP multiplier, where higher values will make you and your creatures receive more XP. Then Taming Speed multiplier, which higher values will make taming progress go faster for all kinds of taming. Then Harvest Yield multiplier adjusts harvest rates across the board, with higher values increasing the amount of stuff gained when harvesting things. Allowing speed leveling lets you level movement speed on creatures that could before in ASE, as well as your player too. Flyer speed allows you to level movement speed on flyers to make them faster in the air as well. Maximum difficulty will have creatures guaranteed spawn at level 150 max. The difficulty level below is to adjust it at specific values if maximum isn't on. If it is at 1, then creatures will spawn at level 150 for reference. PvE mode can also be turned on or off, and this makes it so players and dinos in your world can't damage each other unless they declare war on each other. Hardcore mode will hard reset your player to level 1 whenever you die, and allow unlimited respecs allows you to use mine light tonics over and over again without delay. I will say I tested out this setting though, and it seems like it does the same thing on or off without having the cooldown. Not sure if it is a bug or they changed how it works, but that's how it seems to be right now. Our final subtab here is the rules section, which is where you can allow and not allow certain things. Starting out, you can enable or disable the third-person camera, global voice chat, force proximity chat, notify you if a player joined or left, admin logging to allow you to spawn stuff through commands in the files, enable or disable crosshair, and force no HUD. You can also make it so there are no survivor, dino, item, or tribute downloads, which is something that allows you to transfer creatures, players, and items between maps if you didn't know. Enable PvP gamma allows you to change the gamma in commands or settings even in PvP. Show creative mode puts up a button in single player in the pause menu to go into it, although you can just do this by putting GCM in the console either way. You can also disable loot crates and the ability to friendly fire. Then finally we got the big use single player settings option. In ASA, this makes it so leveling up is easier, creatures grow up faster, and the amount of stats gained per level is drastically increased for tamed creatures. Contrary to popular belief, the setting does not directly make fighting bosses easier from my testing. It's mainly for easier leveling of your own creatures. I'd recommend this setting on if you want to rely more on leveling creatures rather than breeding and mutations. Now we are on the big advanced tab, where a lot of the specifics of your world can be adjusted. This PvE subtab adjusts settings based on the PvE setting being turned on, but can also work with it turned off from my testing. The first setting is a use timer option, which makes it so you switch between PvE and PvP between specific times. The start and stop times can be adjusted right below it. The use system time option will allow you to use real time to do the switching from PvE to PvP if you're using that timer option. Prevent tribe alliances will prevent two tribes from allying with each other. Tribe war can have two tribes fight each other in a more set manner, even with PvE turned on. And the cancel allows you to cancel it at any point. Disable gamma makes it so you cannot adjust gamma at all in the console or settings. And cave building allows you to build inside any caves on the map. Disable structure decay gets rid of the gradual 7-day decay of structure ownership, which is something that will allow you to destroy any structures that are inactive when time is up. Dino decay is the same thing but for dinos, which is also 7 days. Once the time is up, dinos can be claimed by anybody. Flyer carry allows creatures with a grab to pick up other creatures when mounted by a player. I should say this setting seems currently bugged big time for non-dedicated, with it automatically turning off whenever you start the server. Hopefully this gets fixed soon. Extra structure prevention volumes disable structure building in resource-rich areas. No diseases completely gets rid of things like mega rabies and swamp fever, and non-permanent diseases will make diseases go away upon death. Then finally, allowing cave flyers makes it so that restricted flyers that fit can go into caves. On the PvP tab, settings here are mainly if you have PvP turned on, but can work with PvE on too. Dino decay on the PvP tab is a bit different to PvE, as enabling this just disables dino decay if offline raiding prevention is active. Override structure platform prevention makes it so you can actually build turrets and spikes on platform saddles. Change respawn interval makes it so there is no cooldown between respawns on the same spot, and below it you can change things like the multiplier spawning in the same area and how often the game checks it, as well as the amount of time that gets added when killed by another team in PvP. Zone structure damage makes it so structures inside caves take more damage, and the multiplier of how much damage they take. And finally you can adjust what the distance of resource respawning by a base will be. Next on the world subtab, you first can change how fast day and night cycles go. Day cycle changes how often the game goes night to day, with values less than 1 slowing it down. Daytime and nighttime speed is the speed for each respective time of day, and lower values increase the length of each. Override initial time of day is a setting which you can set the starting time of day whenever you log onto the server. It is able to be customized with this setting. Spoil time can make it so you can adjust how long things take to spoil, and item/corpse decomposition allows you to adjust that as well. The no resource radius settings make it so you can customize how far away your resources will respawn from players and structures. Higher values will increase the amount of distance required. Harvest health is the amount of health things like rocks, trees, and carcasses will have before they are fully destroyed. Increasing this makes things harder to break, but gives more resources. Resource respawn interval changes how frequent resources respawn, and lowering this will make things spawn more frequently. Crop growth and decay speeds allow you to customize how fast crops grow or decay. Who could have guessed? Higher values for growth makes them grow faster, while higher values for decay make them decay slower. Poop interval allows you to customize how fast you and creatures do the number 2. Higher values mean faster poops. Mating interval makes it so you can set how fast creatures breed. Lower values mean shorter breeding cooldowns. Lay egg interval is how fast creatures spawn in non-fertilized eggs. Higher numbers makes it so they spawn more frequently. Egg hatch speed is how fast eggs in your world will hatch. Gestation times for mammals, as well as gestation gestation times for Reapers and Rhinos. Increasing this makes it take less time. I'd recommend not putting this up too high if you're planning to play on a normal world, as it can really screw with how the Rhino and Reaper gestation processes work from my testing. Disable Imprint Dino buff gets rid of the buff the imprinter's Dino gains while riding the Dino. Any can baby imprint cuddle allows anybody in your world to imprint on baby dinos, even ones they didn't initially claim. Baby mature speed is how fast babies in your world grow up. Higher numbers make it faster. Baby food consumption speed is how fast babies will eat food while growing up. Higher numbers make it slower. Baby cuddle interval is how often babies want imprints, and making this value higher means babies will want to cuddle more frequently. I should mention here that baby cuddle interval and baby mature speed can be very touchy settings, especially if you have the single player setting on. The thing is, when you make that imprinting time less or baby mature speed slower, it'll just end up being more imprints in general. The fact that the growth speed of creatures is so varied in the game depending on their size makes this one of the most touchy settings. Even my settings here aren't perfect, with creatures that are too small not being able to receive imprints at all in time. I'm not personally worried about this, since I don't really breed little creatures for stats that often anyway, but I know some may. Your best bet is to keep adjusting baby mature speed and the cuddle interval to get the perfect amounts. My best guess from testing for people who want to breed small dinos is having the baby mature speed at about 8 and leaving cuddle interval at 0.25. This will make it so you have to imprint the bigger dinos a bunch though. Baby cuddle grace period is how long it takes for babies to lose imprinting quality when failing to cuddle or give comfort food in time. Baby cuddle lose imprint speed is how fast this imprint decreases once that grace period is reached. Finally, for this tab, baby imprint stat scale is how much stat increases babies get when imprint quality is increased. The wild dino tab allows you to customize how much base stats of your creatures, tamed or wild, will actually have. Increasing any of these increases that specific stat for the creature that is tamed or in the wild. The tamed dino tab is a similar thing, but allows you to customize specific aspects of tamed dino stats compared to their wild counterparts. Stats per level is how much you gain from each stat when leveling up with XP, and increasing it increases the amount gained. Add per level increases stats on tamed creatures based on their base level, and increasing any of them increases stats gained. Then finally, stat affinity increases the amount of stats gained when a creature is first tamed. Increasing any increases the amount of stat gained when taming. This all depends on taming effectiveness too. Next on the player sub-tab is a similar deal to the dino tabs, where you gain more stats from levels if any of these are increased. The XP multipliers tab allows you to change how much XP you gain from specific actions. Increasing them increases the amount of XP gained. Then the final sub-tab here, miscellaneous. On the top left, you can set the maximum number of players in a tribe, and the maximum amount of XP players or creatures can gain if wanted. Flyer platform unaligned basing allows people not in your tribe to stand on flyer platforms, otherwise they'll just slide off. Passive defenses hurt riderless dinos lets spike walls damage wild and riderless dinos. Only allow specific engrams lets you make it so people can't have certain engrams, which can be customized on that final tab. Allow raid dino feeding lets you feed things that normally can't be fed, like the Titanosaur, so you can keep them permanently. You can also customize the Titanosaur's food drain, with higher values letting it be hungry faster. Below that, you can disable photo mode if you want, and also increase or decrease the range photo mode can have in your game. Custom recipes are a neat little thing where you can make your own consumable with any effects you want. The wiki has a good guide if you want to learn how to do this. You can also make it so those custom recipes are more effective by increasing this. You can also increase how much the crafting skill stat affects custom recipes. Crafting skill bonus is how much the quality of items can increase based on your crafting skill stat. Increasing this increases quality. Supply crate and fishing loot quality affects what kind of loot you get when opening supply crates or fishing. Increasing these increases the quality of loot. Fuel consumption interval is how often fuel gets consumed. Increasing this makes fuel get consumed less. Platform structure limit allows you to increase or decrease the amount of structures that can be placed on a platform saddle. Increasing allows you to place more structures. Show floating damage text allows you to see damage numbers from your player and tame/wild creatures to show how much damage these things are doing. Then the final tab here is the engram tab, which if you want to customize, you'll first have to have the only allow specific engram setting on in the advanced miscellaneous tab. Here you can select which engrams you want and don't want in your world, with things that are deselected shown like this. Important to note that modded items don't seem to show up here, but stuff from like Bob's Tall Tales does seem to be here. That's going to conclude this video in showing off all settings in single player / non-dedicated. Be sure to let me know in the comments if I may have gotten something wrong, since there was a lot of stuff here, or what settings you personally prefer to use. Thank you all for the support as always, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Rock skull. All I want to do is stream all night. Lobby full, rock skull. Never gonna play with me, but it's alright.